Nancy, the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie really is heating up, believe it or not. You know, we passed the 1 month mark, and there has been hints online of in referring to as cold case. Some people have taken the idea that since the FBI has moved from Tucson back to their main office in Phoenix, that was a slowing down of the investigation. Actually, it's the opposite of that. We even have a former FBI investigator, Jennifer Coffindaffer, who has gone on record saying this case is red hot, and the only people that would see it as possibly cold are people who have never worked an investigation whatsoever. The FBI is working on so many videos right now that they really needed to go back to their main office in Phoenix, where they have all of their equipment. The FBI being in Tucson, they have an office there, but not at the level they have in Phoenix. So that was the whole reason the FBI main offices, where they have access to everything right there. They're going through so much video evidence right now. Plus, don't forget, we've still got a glove, DNA, from inside the house. We've got the porch guy, which that video release garnered thousands of leads. So the FBI is taking all of these things we've talked about, and they're breaking them down one by one. That was the reason for the move back to Phoenix. So this investigation, red hot, not ice cold. Now, Sheriff Nanos has gone on record on a number of issues in the last couple of days, and very interesting that the car that was seen on the Ring camera about 2.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. If you remember, there's a car that is seen 2:36 a.m. driving by this away from the area. And at first, FBI said, no, it's not a part of the investigation. We're not worried about that. But once they got a better look at it, then investigators really did start honing in. Now they're trying to identify what type of car it is. Right now they're looking at a vehicle with a sloped roof, distinct vertical brake lights, as well as rear quarter glass. These are the things they're trying to identify and determine what kind of vehicle it is, and that'll be the part of that investigation. So again, red hot material being investigated by the Sheriff's Department as well as the FBI. Sheriff Nanos also brought up the backpack again. Now, this Ozark Trail Hiker backpack is exclusively sold at Walmart when it's brand new. But Nanos actually was talking about how this backpack could have been purchased anywhere. And he's right. People sell things they've barely used all the time through, different means, whether it's through eBay or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So Nanos was merely trying to point out that while this backpack appears to be new, and it is known that the Ozark, this particular backpack, is only sold at Walmart, he's just saying that maybe that's not where it was bought. We'll have to wait and see, but they're still trying to identify where the outfit worn by the porch guy, where it came from, where it was bought. They're putting all of this together, and Nanos, for whatever reason, opening that up for discussion. Nanos is saying that the investigation is getting very, very close to finding a suspect. Very interesting in the fact that the investigation is now over a month old, and yet the evidence is starting to come together. It takes time, and that's what they're really working on. So as we move forward from here, Nancy, the investigation is heating up as opposed to cooling down. The evidence will speak for itself throughout all of this.
Ryan joining us, lab director, forensic DNA analyst at Pure Gold Forensics and forensic DNA consultant at Ryan Forensics, 25 years in the business. Susanna, thank you for being with us. A lot is being made of DNA tonight. What do you make? Where we stand right now? I find it really hard to believe when Nanos says this is going to take months to get DNA matches. That's simply not true. Unless you're trying to separate DNA if it's mixed, or you're trying to regenerate DNA if you've got a minuscule amount, or if you're trying to rehabilitate degraded DNA. But we don't know that any of that is true from DNA inside the home.
Minutes ago, a shocking moment unfolded that has left viewers stunned and asking serious questions. During a heated discussion, Nancy Grace appeared to reference what she described as a possible location connected to Nancy Guthrie, and the internet immediately exploded. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear. There has been no official confirmation of any hideout, no law enforcement statement confirming such claims. But what Nancy Grace said, and the way she said it, has fueled intense speculation. And here, why people are paying attention. Nancy Grace is not someone who casually throws words around. She built her career on crime analysis, courtroom breakdowns, and dissecting suspicious timelines. So when she hints at something, viewers listen carefully. In the segment that's now circulating online, she referenced what she called a place people haven't looked closely enough at. She didn't give an address. She didn't give coordinates, but her tone changed. Her posture shifted, and that moment is what has people talking. Was she implying investigators missed something? Was she suggesting someone knows more than they're saying? Or was this simply commentary taken out of context? Social media lit up within minutes. Some viewers believe Nancy Grace may have been pointing toward a rural property linked indirectly through past associations. Others believe she was referring to a theory circulating in online forums for weeks. But here, where things get interesting. Nancy Guthrie is widely known publicly as a respected Bible teacher and author. There has been no confirmed disappearance, no criminal investigation officially announced, which raises a major question. Why is the word hideout even being used? That word alone changes everything. A hideout implies someone is hiding. Hiding implies fear. Fear implies a reason. And this is exactly why the clip has gone viral. Some analysts say Nancy Grace was speaking hypothetically, using the word metaphorically. Others argue she was carefully choosing her words to avoid direct accusation while still signaling concern. And if you rewatch the moment slowly, you can see the pause. That pause, the way she leaned forward, the way she emphasized location, the way she said, people need to start asking the right questions. That's what's fueling this fire. Now again, there is no verified report confirming Nancy Guthrie is missing, hiding, or under investigation. But in today's digital world, perception spreads faster than confirmation. Online forums are now analyzing satellite images. Comment sections are dissecting property records. Armchair detectives are building timelines. All because of one statement. But here's the part nobody is talking about. What if this entire reaction proves something bigger? In the true crime world, speculation often fills the silence before facts arrive. And Nancy Grace understands the psychology of suspense better than most. Was this strategic? Was it commentary about media narratives? Or was it simply a misunderstood moment amplified by algorithms? Because once the word hideout hits the internet, it takes on a life of its own. And the phrase minutes ago adds urgency, whether there's confirmation or not. Now imagine this scenario. If someone influential suggests a hidden location exists, even indirectly, what happens next? Pressure builds. Viewership spikes. Speculation grows. But credibility becomes fragile. That's why it's critical to separate what was said, what was implied, and what is proven. As of right now, there is zero official documentation supporting claims of a hideout tied to Nancy Guthrie. But the online reaction tells us something powerful. People are hungry for mystery. They're drawn to unresolved narratives. They lean into suspense. And Nancy Grace has built a career mastering that space. So the real question becomes, did she reveal something? Or did the audience hear what they wanted to hear? Because in high-profile commentary, tone matters just as much as words. And when you combine a respected crime commentator, a recognizable public figure, and a vague reference to a location, you get a viral storm. Now here, where I want to hear from you. Do you think Nancy Grace was hinting at something deeper? Or do you think this entire situation has been blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're following stories like this, where media commentary and mystery collide, make sure you subscribe right now. Because we break down the moments others ignore. We analyze the pauses. We question the tone. We separate speculation from fact. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. And watch the next video on your screen, because what we're uncovering next may completely shift how you see this situation. Stay alert, stay curious, and always question what you're told.
Can anybody on this panel name a single U.S. citizen taken from the U.S. by the cartels? Obviously, no. So I've noticed in cartel schemes, they typically correspond to local events, local extortion plots, business dealings, drug issues. To Brian Fitzgibbons, do you agree or disagree? You have rescued people out of Mexico. Does this have any resemblance to a cartel job?
Not at all, Nancy. The primary reason is just like you said. This is a U.S. citizen, high profile in nature. This is going to draw an incredible amount of. It has drawn an incredible amount of media attention and an incredible amount of unwanted attention to the cartel from the U.S. federal government. The second point that I'm going to make is all the hallmarks of a typical cartel ransom and kidnapping ransom operation are not being met here. There would be a clear and sophisticated way to pay. They would want to be able to cash out easily and make that process very seamless. This doesn't meet any of those criteria.
You know, when it comes to Mexico, Brian Fitzgibbons, let's just pretend for one moment that she has been moved to Mexico. That's not playing into all the crazy, zany cartel theories. But if she has been moved to Mexico, what do you do to extract someone out of Mexico? We know that the feds are accessing iFamilia, which is the Mexican equivalent of our DNA databank CODIS, although it's used mostly for identifying bodies in murder cases. Also, of course, they're looking internationally at Interpol databases. I think good news is that they are looking at the Arizona database, which is a lot less stringent. You get more information. For instance, suspects are in there. Not pristine DNA mixtures are in there. The CODIS databank would not allow everything that is allowed in the Arizona DNA databank. And that's good for this case. That's good for the Arizona search because you've got a wider pool. There's over 500,000 profiles in the Arizona databank. But back to Mexico, how would you extract someone from Mexico?
Yeah, you first need to understand that Mexico is a very non-permissible environment, especially to search for a missing foreign national. This is for a few reasons. One, the levels of local government corruption in Mexico are almost unfathomable to a typical American. Second, wide swaths of territory are primarily controlled by cartels. That's both from a physical security perspective and from a political perspective. And that all leads me to say that the public, especially with such a high profile case, will lack an urgency or willingness to be involved in this search for fear of reprisals. Whether or not the cartel is or is not involved, they do control these areas. So the public will be very apprehensive to participate in this. And that all leads me to say that any search in Mexico that's going to be have a positive result is going to come through U.S. federal government diplomatic channels. That is the number one main effort in any search taking place in Mexico.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Fox 1. When breaking crime news develops, we investigate it and bring it to you. Bombshell updates, answers to unanswered questions from cases making the headlines and cases you may never have heard of until Crime Stories. We go inside investigations with exclusive interviews, crime victims, families seeking justice, investigators, experts, and sources from within the case itself. Stay on top of the nation's biggest trials with us, including gavel-to-gavel coverage with real-time analysis. Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Stream it first on Fox 1. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend. Tom Smith joining us, former NYPD detective, worked in homicide, was with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, now star Gold Shields podcast. Tom, the ransom letters, if they are connected, how could this idiot who's trying to reaches down and grabs a clump of plants to put over the door cam, how could that guy write a very eloquent, well-worded, well-crafted ransom note? Let's see the guy. Here he goes. There, that's the ticket. I'll grab these plants. Yeah, okay, that's not working. I don't see it being the same person, Tom.
And I was never, ever sold on the ransom notes that were sent to TMZ, never, because of the time frame that it took to get them. Kidnappers don't work that way, Nancy. They grab their target, they set up what they want, who they're going to contact, and it's done quickly. Because the longer that kidnappers have their victims with them, it gives law enforcement a quicker time and a shorter time span to track them down. Kidnappings are done quickly. And on your other point, I don't think this was done by himself at all. Kidnappings are usually never done by one person, whether there's someone sitting in a car or standing and looking around as a lookout, but there is someone else in that area helping him. To carry someone out and get someone out of a house, even remotely resisting, is very, very difficult for one person to do. And then try to get them into a vehicle is a monumental task. And I never thought this was done by one person, and I still don't.
You know, I am projecting, which is not helpful when you're trying to try a case. But Tom, my mom lives with us. She's 94. And when you try to pick her up, it's dead weight. Mm-hmm. When you try to help her walk, very often I'll just get her to sit on her walker and I will wheel her wherever we're going because it is so hard to manage her. It's like 2 giant, tall kitchen trash bags full of sand. And they go this way and that way, and you're trying to drag them. It's hard. We know that she was upright. We believe she was upright when she first came out the door because those blood drops are clearly low velocity droplets. And if you study them, you see that in one spot, there are a couple, which means she was standing still, unable to go forward, just standing there. I don't know if she's trying to get her balance, but she stood there and several droplets fell in one place. There was kind of a satellite dropping, a grouping. That said, I think someone had to help her out the front door. And that's not a one-man job. Agree, no. Disagree?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And listen, if she had any thought in her head, we tell, people who might be abducted, even children, all right, even kids, drop down to the ground and become dead weight. Even a 10, 12-year-old kid that's laying down on the ground is hard to pick up and get somewhere, much less an 84-year-old woman. It's very difficult, and I don't think it's possible. And I am in total agreement with you that this was definitely more than one person.
If you know or think you know anything about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, again, we call on you to dial toll-free 800-225-5324, 800-CALL-FBI, or if you wish to remain anonymous, 520-882-7463, 520-882-7463. There is a $1.2+ million reward. No arrest, no conviction required, just information leading to Nancy Guthrie. We remember an American hero, Deputy Sheriff Paul Martin, Mercer County Sheriff, North Dakota, killed in the line of duty after 18 years on the force. He leaves behind a wife-turned-widow, Melinda, and 3 children facing life without dad. American hero, Deputy Sheriff Paul Martin. Thank you to our guests joining us tonight, but especially to you for being with us as we continue our search for Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Grace signing off for tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow night. And until then, prayers go on. Good night, friend. Hi, guys. Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. And if you're on the go, please join us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all our content, where we, in our way, seek justice.